Welcome to the Lend Me Your Ears podcast, where we explore practical solutions to your sales problems. Today, we bring you a thought-provoking article titled, Why Believing the Customer is Always Right Loses You Sales. Originally published on lendmeyourears.co.ke.
Do you believe in the phrase, the customer is always right? Do you ever find yourself nodding along to the age-old adage, the customer is always right? Well, it's time to hit the snooze button on that notion. Wake up and smell the espresso, my friends. We've been caught in a collective daydream. The truth is that the customer is far from infallible. In fact, they're often quite the opposite. In sales, blind adherence to the customer's every whim can spell disaster. For the customer, yes, but worse, for you, the salesperson. Because, when the worst comes to the worst, when the hairstyle looks ridiculous or the house burns down, the customer will blame you. Because, whereas the customer is not always right, the customer remains king. There are instances which could lead to the customer not being right. Picture these scenarios: a customer wants a mechanic to skip safety checks, another berates a waiter, and yet another demands prescription meds without a script. Sound familiar? These are the moments where the customer's request hits a brick wall, and for good reason. Take the mechanic example. Sure, saving time and money sounds appealing, but not when it compromises safety. That's where a line must be drawn, no negotiation. The same goes for verbal abuse towards service staff. It's not just about customer service anymore, it's about basic human decency. And let's not forget the pharmacist. Handing out meds like candy? Not on their watch. It's not just illegal, it's downright dangerous. And what about those tech-savvy customers expecting champagne on a beer budget? Sorry, but a budget smartphone won't magically transform into a premium model. See, it's not about blindly saying yes to every whim. It's about knowing when to pump the brakes, ensuring safety, legality, and realism. Because in the world of sales, sometimes the customer's desires need a reality check. Now, let's shine a light on a darker side of the sales world where salespeople yield to customers' unreasonable demands. Picture this: a bank salesperson, feeling the heat from not hitting his targets, bends the rules and makes false promises to the customer. And then there's the sales engineer facing a stubborn customer and yielding to the demand for a replica solar panel without the necessary inspection. It's a recipe for disaster, not just for the customer, but for the fragile balance between sales and the back office. The bank or the engineering firm steps in, slamming the brakes on the salesperson's charade. You lied to the customer, go deal with it, they say, leaving the salesperson to pick up the pieces of their shattered credibility. But here's the kicker: a customer isn't so different from a patient in a doctor's office. When you go to the doctor with a pain, you're not handing them a diagnosis, you're presenting symptoms. It's the doctor's job to dig deeper, to ask the right questions, and to uncover the root cause. Yet in the sales arena, ego and mistrust often trumps honesty. The customer, perhaps fearing they'll seem foolish, presents symptoms as problems, while the salesperson, driven by targets, swallows it whole. But the saga of the customer is always right doesn't end at the retail counter. No, even in the lofty realm of business-to-business sales, this mantra can lead to a perilous path. Imagine a bank in search of a bank-wide software solution. They delegate the task to someone, likely from IT, who goes on a fact-finding mission, asking colleagues, "What would you like from the system?" Seems innocent enough, right? Wrong. There's a Swahili proverb which directly translates, "To make it tight, the drum maker pulls the skin in his direction." In other words, people will always prioritize what suits them. And without a structured approach to data collection, the results are requirements skewed to individual preferences rather than the organization's needs. But here's the kicker: experienced firms don't take requirements presented to them at face value. Like a doctor, they dissect, they analyze, they challenge. Because what the customer wants isn't always what they need. These experienced sellers know that when things go wrong, as they surely will, the customer will blame them. Remember, the customer is not always right, but the customer is always king. In the immortal words of that Swahili proverb, when people do something, they first do it for their own benefit. The buyer, unwilling to shoulder the blame, points a finger at the product. The problem is this new software, it's not doing what the seller promised, they declare, washing their hands of any responsibility. If the seller gets wind of this, he struggles to defend his position, looking to the terms of reference of the contract for salvation, and the patchwork begins. This costs time, reputation, and money. Soon enough, the unhappy customer is shopping elsewhere. Only this time, he, together with the new and wiser seller, having learnt from your mistake, address the problem and not the symptom, as you had. And there you have it. The customer is always right, except when they're wrong. So, next time you find yourself face to face with a customer, take a doctor's approach. Dive deeper into the symptoms they share. Help them uncover the root cause, guiding them towards a purchase decision that truly serves their needs.
Thank you for joining us in another exciting Lend Me Your Ears podcast, and don't forget to subscribe for more hair-raising insights and practical solutions to your sales problems.